Welcome Dickson, welcome Farooq to DanceEast. This wasn't how we imagined this week was going to be. We had hoped that this piece that you're working on in the theatre here at DanceEast would be being presented to the public tomorrow evening, actually. But as it turns out, we're doing a production week here and we're doing something different with it. But for those people who don't know who you are, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about who you are. I'm going to start with you, Dickson, you're a choreographer.
Oh, yeah, so my name is Dickson.
Yeah.
I'm from East London.
Yeah.
I'm the choreographer and dance artist.
Yeah. And a little bit about your history.
My history? Yeah, so I was born in Cameroon, but I grew up in East London. Started dancing at the age of 19, because I like girls. And that led me on to do what I'm doing now. I never thought I'd be a professional dancer or choreographer. I work with several choreographers in the UK and Europe and overseas, yeah.
Yeah, and you work in contemporary dance, but you didn't come from a contemporary dance background, did you?
Yeah, I don't only work in contemporary dance, I work in street dance. But my first dance style or first love, still my first love today, is popping, street dance form. Which I'm heavily involved in still. I run I don't want to call it a mentorship program, but I run a program where we give back to the next generation, so we teach them popping. Myself and my partner, my dance partner, Brooke Milliner. So yeah, popping is my thing, but contemporary dance is also another avenue of mine, which I feel like I can express myself or the vulnerability of myself in a specific way, which I can't really do that in popping. Popping, mate, it's all about virtuosity, what I mean? Yeah. You gotta explode, you gotta have presence. Yeah, you just gotta carry yourself in a different way. Yeah. And I think with the contemporary dance, it allows me to show that, but also show another side of me, so which is something I'm really enjoying, and I'm just working out what that means for me in both worlds.
Just one quick last question. You talked about choreographers you work with. Who might, some of the people who are watching this might know? Or
I guess for me, there's a lot of them, but I think the person that made the biggest impact for me is Russell Malafin, because he took me out of school, but he offered me a job when I was still in my first year at the place, and then I joined him and I worked with him on and off for 8 years, and a lot of the choreographic ways of thinking and how to look at the body, how to look at flow, how to think of movement. A lot of it comes from Russell. And of course, I went back to the place and did a master's in choreography just to understand what I'm doing, you know what I mean? But that experience of, the education, working with Russell really helped me. And even the way I think about lighting and talk to the lighting designer, Lee Curran, about loads of different things. A lot of it comes with what the movement is saying as well, rather than, just do a piece of dance and then on the last day you just put light on it. No, I think it's like an ongoing conversation. I think that's one of the things I learned from Russell as well.
That's great. I'm going to go over to you, Farooq. I've known you a few years now.
We have, yeah. We've known each other for a long time.
But for those people who don't know you, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about your background. And you're the producer, basically, here, aren't you?
Yeah, well, producer,
entrepreneur,
collaborator, dramaturg, the whole thing.
Yeah,
everything,
impresario.
Everything.
You're the impresario.
I guess so. That sounds a bit grand, but no, really, I'm here to help Dickson get the best out of the work. And I think that's really, whatever you call me to do that. I'm happy to accept it. But who I am, if I'm going to be all about where I come from, London, I'm from North London. My full name's Farooq. I was born in Pakistan, not born in England, and raised here. Came into dance quite late, like 21, when I was doing university. So I'm another late bloomer like Dickson. And then found myself on this beautiful journey of dancing and lots of different kind of areas like contemporary dance, opera, backing dancer for a pop tour, film, musical theatre. I did the lot. And then I retired at 38 and did a master's degree in arts management. And after that, I moved to London because I was living in Belgium and working for a very famous dance company called Rosas. And then when I came to London, I almost accidentally bumped into Akram Khan after Jonathan Burrows told me that he's dancing at South Bank. I met him and we had this fantastic connection. And in 2000, we co-founded the Akram Khan Company. So actually last year was our 20th anniversary. It's amazing. And you were there right at the beginning, Brendan, because you're the one who first helped us get off the ground. When, it was, as you know, for young artists, it takes a lot of energy and belief and a circle of trust and love and good faith that allows artists to kind of flourish. So what you're doing for us here is a similar thing, and it kind of similar thing to what happened with Akram. So yeah, I've been a producer. I didn't call myself a producer actually till 2006 because I didn't know what I was, and I don't particularly care. Yeah. But the most important thing, as I said, is I kind of conjure up circumstances in which the artist can make their very best work every single time. And I think, and someone gave me a really beautiful description of what a producer is the other day. It's someone with an extremely warm heart, but an extremely cold eye. So what I'm here is to offer Dickson my warm heart and my cold eye in terms of developing the work.
And some of your connections as well, of course.
Yeah, of course. I mean, over the years, I've built a lot of connections, very dear friends, including yourself, actually. But not just, I've learned over the years, it's not just like, hey, can you give me a gig? Yeah. Can you give me money? Connection's more meaningful than that. Yeah. It's about finding mutuality, about, developing, what's happening here at DanceEast in terms of your vision and making sure that what we do serves that as much as how much you guys do for serving artists who are kind of in that kind of key turning point on their career. So it's about being mutuality. Yeah. It's win-win.
I think quite often people think of producers as people who do the money, do the organisation, but actually it's much more than that, isn't it? It's also about looking at the artistic product and it's guiding the artistic principles as well, isn't it?
Exactly. It's laying down the culture, the values. Every organisation that wants to succeed, it has to develop a culture and a set of values in which that money and creativity flourishes. Yeah. So so the producer's really there to open that space and then to close the space by protecting it.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about each other. Let's talk a little bit about this piece because it's been a while in gestation. Yeah. This time, some of the lucky people in Ipswich saw a preview of some of the early material this time last year, and we had hoped, of course, we were going to open tonight with the finished article. I think one thing people don't often understand is just how long a project like this does actually take to get together and how much work goes on. When you go into a theatre, you don't really realise just how much stuff's happened. So tell me a little bit about how it's come about and where we're up to and and then we'll go on to what happens next.
I'll let Farooq talk about that.
No, all right. Dickson, go on, man. It's something that's sprung out of you. I think this work probably is the most personal work that Dickson's done. In terms of his career so far. I mean, when I first met Dickson, what was it, like 2017?
Yeah, 2017.
17, right. And you had a solo called Duende, right? A beautiful solo, which really showcased your immense physical virtuosity, but also your sensitivity. But we felt, as we were looking at that work, it was touring, that there was another level you could go to. And Enowate was about arriving at this next level and then developing a process which was going to take time, which was going to start with a work in progress, start with a collaborative team right from the beginning rather than, you make up your own and you get people to come in and put the lights and music. So this is probably the most thorough and most expansive process you've done. And we spent a long time talking about it before we even got to the studio. Yeah. Because you know what it is, you're trying to find, it's that thing that which is most universal is most personal, right? And so we had to find the personal wellspring, the DNA of Dickson, and start with that. And that involved lots of conversations with you, with me, with you, with Roger, with Lee, and just to explore where we would begin, not where we want to end up, because that you're never going to know, right? But where you want to begin and what you want to preserve as you go through the process. So now it's like a year and a bit, right?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, this one is because when something is really personal, you care about it so much, and it affects you a lot more deeper. And also certain things like so I don't know, certain things about my culture was one of those things that I was finding it quite hard to show as a performance, because I don't know if you can get this. It's like I'm African, but I'm also British. But when I go to Africa, I'm not seen as African. But when I'm here, I'm seen as African. So there's that confusion. So what am I then? So, but I know who I am and I know where I'm from. But also, because I'm from East London, I'm from the West, there's this sort of exotifying the way how Africa is, you know. So I guess one of those things was not to present that sort of energy in this work. And as much as it is personal to me, I've got to take a step out. So that was a big challenge. And it is still a challenge now, because we're stepping away from a lot of different elements, which I think would work, but it also would be misunderstood, not just by the public, but also people from my culture or from my community. Do you know what I mean?
I do know.
So,
yeah.
So those sort of things have been really difficult to manage. But I'm lucky. I know I've got a great team. Farooq, you know, they can step out and tell me, look, mate, you know, that's not happening. Lee, Roger. But yeah, the stimulus came from, you know, the journey I went to in Cameroon in 2016. 2016 was the first time I went to the village that my parents were from.
Right.
And I've never been there. And I saw a two-headed snake, and I never even knew that existed. That threw me off. And then I saw a tiger in a funeral. A whole different thing, you know. That was the weirdest thing. And you know, my mum was like, "No, don't look at it in the eye, you know, because you might challenge it." I was like, "Oh, they challenge it? What do you mean by that?" You know what I mean? So those sort of things really affected me. But personally, in my upbringing here in East London, I've always had this practice, animistic practice. You know, I don't have a religion like, you know, Christianity or Islamic religion and stuff like that. I always believe in different elements, you know, like the buildings have energy, water, all those sort of things. I believe in those sort of things. Even when I perform, sometimes I feel like when I'm on stage, I'm not me, I'm something else. And then but I can see myself. I even get goosebumps doing what I'm doing on stage, but I don't know what's happening to me. So it's so hard to explain those sort of things to people. But when I went to Africa, those things made sense to me because of everything that I experienced. And I wanted to share it in a way, I guess that's personal to me, but also not express this culture in an exotifying way, but also keep the balance of who I am in East London as well as African. So it's a dilemma that I'm working with, but I think it's a good one.
That sounds very exciting, really exciting.
I mean, just to add to that, I mean, Enowate means true stance. So already there's the intention, you know. But it's like Dickson says, and I know that, and I've experienced that with Akram, and you know, I like working with artists like Dickson who carry many worlds within them, you know.
That's
the idea is to find, and that is a richness, but it's also a complexity. As we know, we're living in a world where, you know, about racial equality and stuff, and we try to simplify it, but actually it's complex.
Incredibly
because,
complex.
you know, when you are carrying multiple worlds, multiple identities, and you're trying to converge them into a truthful representation of self, it is extremely difficult. However, I still believe that, you know, beautiful things happen when different worlds meet. That's
Absolutely.
my motto, right?
Yeah.
So what we've been, and why it's taken so long, because what people don't understand about creative process, you don't wake up like an epiphany and you go in and it just spills out and you've got something beautiful, and then within 6 weeks you can put it on the stage. A lot of the time when creativity is craft and imagination and judgment and decision making and choices with people. And often what's happening in that early stage is you're putting out the familiar. You're putting out what you will naturally, obviously want to put out. But often that stuff ain't really good because that is too close to you. And so the first kind of year you're putting stuff out and then you're throwing it away because that is kind of too predictable. And then you're sifting through those little bits of what you've thrown away, and you're finding these little nuggets of ideas and bits of gold, and you think, oh, I think that is something I'm kind of fascinated by. It's me, but I don't understand it. How can I take this further? And I think that's why, people, you asked about why it takes so long. That's what creative process is. It's as much about destruction as it is about creation.
Yeah. I would agree with that, because the first things that we did, mate, even I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is coming out of me. But it's been good, I've learned a lot, and I think me as a person, Farooq challenges me a lot, but the whole team, they are asking a lot of questions of me that I don't even have the answers. So I'm asking those questions. But then when I have an answer, it gets challenged. And I like that because I don't like yes men or yes women or yes people to just accept what I'm bringing forward. And a lot of things get questions, things that I can't even see myself because I'm in it.
Now you talked about a team and you used two names, Roger, you talked about Lee. Just can you tell us a little bit about the rest of the team? Who else have been working on this with you?
So in this team, we have lighting designer Lee Corran.
Yeah.
He's been at the beginning of the process since the first, when we were here for the R&D process. Roger Guela is a Spanish composer, lives in London. So I've worked with him for about 3-4 years now as well. Started with Duende, and then we've done the Company of Elders at Sadler's Wells together, and we're doing this, and I want to work with him for more years to come because I feel he really understands my process and I understand his work. And then we got Farooq, of course, Farooq. I think for me, I just don't see him as a creative producer. He comes into the studio, he provides dramaturgy, information that sometimes I don't really think about. It questions me a lot about loads of things. Sometimes my brain is like, what is this guy saying? So yeah, I don't know what to call Farooq, to be honest, but I feel like he's like an integral part of this team. Yeah. But I think the other people like Heather Benson, and then we have Nick. Sorry, I was going to mention Nick.
Yeah.
Nick is such an important guy because after the R&D process, we realized that we needed another element to this work. So we contacted Yeast Culture, Nick Hillel. So we're putting some animations into the part of the work, and I hope you will see it soon. It's something that we're really excited about, and finishing touches is still happening. And then we have Keaney, and Keaney and I, we go way back. We're both from the street dance culture as well. He used to be a b-boy before we went to the place together before I left. So we've been working together for 10 or so years. So yeah, he's really important because he acts like my buddy, but sometimes some people you just do something and they can just do what you do. You don't have to explain anything. So he's one of the most important. Without Keaney, I don't think I could do what I'm doing because I just need him to do it. We have different qualities, I think that complements each other as well when we dance together. But when I'm making a solo, I trust him wholeheartedly. He's like my right-hand man. So yeah.
And Heather Benson, who's working as creative producer and executive producer, right, on the show? Yeah,
and then we have an associate producer as well, Jenny Lou.
Of Jenny Lou.
Yeah. We have a big team of people,
and Mikey?
Oh yeah, we're working with Mikey J as well. Mikey J I've known, since I was 19. So he's bringing another element to the music.
What's Mikey doing? The music?
Another element of the music, Roger's doing. I think Roger is like the musical director of the whole arc of the show. Yeah. Mike is bringing certain elements that represents myself in East London, so to speak. But yeah.
I'm want to finish up in a minute, but what's going to happen next? I suppose that's a $6 million question. None of us really know what's going to happen next, do we?
Who knows? And this is, we're living in a world now where a sensible plan only lasts a week, right?
Yeah.
So I think, one thing I do want to say is that the version that people here saw was work in progress. You know, we now have a whole new beginning section, which is 20 minutes long. We have introduced animation elements. You know, the music lighting has been refined. We will, after this, we're going to the Barbican, beginning of April, which was also postponed into a further residency. Thankfully, we've got more time to explore further elements of work. We want to finish it in April, and then we'll film it.
Yeah.
There was talk about performing it and streaming it, but I think for a premiere that feels like I don't know. It just doesn't feel right, you know.
Yeah.
And then we'll just have to sit on the work for a bit till the world opens up.
Yeah.
And we're ready to share it. I think, you know. And but there is a danger, though. I would think that having more and more time, you just overthink it and overtinker. And you know, we've got to arrive at a place that feels this is the natural place for it to then be performed, not the natural. Because again, something I always say, Brendan, is that actually the audience are the final collaborator.
Yeah.
They finish the work for you, so we can't do that bit until we put it in front of an audience. So it could be the audience here, it could be the audience Barbican, who knows? But we're waiting for our final collaborator.
Yeah. Well, let's hope we might be part of that collaboration. I really hope so. Listen, it's a great pleasure to have you here this week.
You too.
I'm sad we couldn't provide you with that other collaborator this time round, but
but thank you, Brendan. I think you're offering us a space. You know, your team have been amazing.
But it's great. I mean, it's great play. It's building. You know, just one company in here. You've got your own toilet. It's, so it's a great pleasure, and let's hope that we will provide that collaborator. You know, very, very soon.
Hope so.
Yes, sir. Yes, please. We need it. We really need it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Brendan.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.